Episode 8, Video Games Small Talk. Hey folks, it's James, Patrick and Hope back to chat about the latest in all the video games. And oh my gosh, I think we've been flooded.
There's too much news and there's too much games.
There's too much of everything going on. We've kicked back into like busy season and things are happening.
It was like there was some sort of communication about games or a Gamescom.
No, I think it was more that Madden came out, and when Madden came out and saw its shadow, it just tossed games at us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wait, it's like a gopher?
Madden is like
Madden's
school.
the herald.
He's like old school Donkey Kong, who's just like throwing the barrels of video games down at Mario as he tries to jump up the ladder.
Madden is the herald of video game season.
Oh wait, is the original bad guy in? It's not Donkey Kong. That's Cranky Kong, isn't it? The very
yeah.
No,
he's Donkey Kong in that game, and then later they're just like, oh, actually, the Donkey Kong in that game is Cranky Kong.
They retconned it.
Yeah,
but Mario retains his invulnerability.
No, but Mario was like Jumpman in that.
Yeah.
Jumpman? Really?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's his name. That's his name in the first one.
Yeah.
Mario will be forever known as Jumpman now on this podcast.
It's his one thing.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, he does a lot now. He's a doctor.
Yeah, but he only does those things when his clothes allow him.
So
Mario has so many different like
garments
and stuff.
Determinism.
I mean,
yeah, but
he's
like
got a cat
he can't
suit,
do
for God's sake.
anything unless he's wearing something special. Maybe he's like he's like one of those actors who has to like really get into the role.
He's a method actor.
Yeah, that's what the word I was looking for. Yeah. Okay. So like he's just like, I will not be doing any of those things until I'm in my doctor's coat.
That's pretty funny to think of, like, you know, Italian stereotype Mario having this really great Broadway accent.
Well, isn't he from Boston?
It depends which.
Brooklyn.
We can't get caught up in Mario canon. We can't get caught up in
Mario.
Mario.
What are you doing? I'm walking here.
Yeah, so he's all like that.
He's all like that. Hi folks, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let's
restart the podcast.
We have a lot of games, a lot of things to get to.
Yeah,
so I think we're
James,
just gonna jump right into it.
Let's just blast through some smaller ones that we've been playing. You've been playing the new update for No Man's Sky?
Yeah, so there's a lot, like I said, a lot of stuff's come out. And one of those things is No Man's Sky Beyond, which is like their 2.0, basically, pretty much the... that's what they called internally No Man's Sky 2.0. So basically what this added was... the big multiplayer hub, which is like, which comes in the form of a
spaceship you can summon.
Spaceship that you can summon, pretty much. Yeah, like a big space station that you can summon. Which when you fly in, loads everybody else in, and you can run around and like do some shopping and grab stuff. And see
so, like, does it have its
around.
own like wormholes or something? Is that how they justify this?
I don't know how they justify it, like in any kind of. Canon.
Do they justify it?
No, not really. But you know, it's like No Man's Sky is so purely science fiction that it doesn't really matter. And that game that game rules.
Did you try the VR?
No, I haven't. That was one thing that I did. I was
Wouldn't
hoping
you get
to try.
like super sick?
I probably would. That's kind of one of the reasons why I didn't try it, because I get super motion sick in VR. But I kind of do want to try it anyway, just to see how it is, because apparently like it's really awesome, especially inside the spaceship cockpits, which, you know, that's VR's made for that stuff.
Yeah, basically.
So but not really much to say about No Man's Sky other than they continue to do things with that game, and the people who love it seem to continue to appreciate it. And I'm going to go back and play it some more, I think, once I've got a little bit of time. I mean, you know, what even is time?
I'm glad it's found its like audience sort of thing. You know how it started with the whole controversy, and then over time has gradually become more and more of a game. That's kind of nice.
I mean, that's really the overriding story with Hello Games and No Man's Sky. Is, you know, it's the big turnaround from you know, a game that I don't think was too bad at release at all. It was just, you know, just what it was.
Yeah, the promise was too big, basically.
Yes, and
for the most part.
But they have turned that thing into something quite spectacular.
Whenever I hear about it, I'm so surprised because I played it at launch and I haven't touched it since. I haven't had the chance. And it sounds like it's totally different. Like, my experience is not at all true to what that game is anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's still No Man's Sky. It's still like that basic premise is still there. It's just you've got more stuff to do now, and you've got kind of more purpose in, there's more purpose in having like your own home base, and because like a few updates ago, they expanded a bunch of the multiplayer stuff as well, and some of the base building and whatnot. But that just gives you some more impetus to, put some effort into what you're doing and then show it off. Which is great. People love that shit, and that's wonderful. Something else that I've been playing, which I'll get to just quickly, is the Hotline Miami Collection.
So you managed to nab it before fell off the eShop because of RC?
So
I did too.
We'll talk about the refused classification stuff a bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I did manage to grab it in the it was less than 24 hours.
12 hours.
Yeah, it was about like an 18-hour window or something.
Yeah,
like a work day.
Short.
That it was
a work day. I couldn't go home and get it in time. Well, I mean, not that I cared that much. So
I had my Switch with me in the office, and as soon as I heard it was refused classification, I turned on my phone's hotspot and bought it and downloaded it immediately.
I kind of did like the same thing. I didn't hear that it was refused classification, but when I heard that 2 was a part of the bundle, I was like, I've got to download this like right now, because what's gonna happen? Like, how is it here? Like,
yeah.
Leaving aside the shenanigans, how is it?
Look, those games are fucked up. But in
a good way, mostly.
Well, mostly in a good way, yeah. Like, they are, brutal tales from late 80s Miami, and like gameplay wise, top down, very fast, a lot of action, very brutal.
Fits the Switch okay?
Yeah, it really does. It's actually,
I thought it was really funny in the indie showcase. They had to show all the like non-violent sections of it, and like with the just trippy music and.
I haven't actually tried it on the Switch yet, but I played it on PC, and then I tried playing it on Vita, and I always found that the dual stick controls I didn't like for Hotline Miami.
I feel like because it's like a top-down 360 sort of shooter, you want to be able to pop around and get the precision to where you're aiming at.
Yeah, so I haven't tried it on Switch, but part of the reason I haven't is because I'm like, I didn't remember liking doing it.
And it's so fast as well, eh?
So that makes sense, and that is one of the things that I struggle with is the dual joystick thing. But they do kind of alleviate a little bit by letting you lock onto enemies with like the right trigger, and then you can just sort of flick with the right thumbstick between different enemies, so like lock onto different enemies. A bit similar to like the GTA cool. lock-on style thing.
Is the Hotline Miami 2 soundtrack really good? Like the way, because I love ones, but I just never played
it's the same sort of synthwave.
Yeah,
is it all by Moon
cool
again? Because so sick.
By who?
Might be worth
Moon.
I think they're by separate artists. There's like 3 or 4 on Hotline 1, I think.
Most of the Hotline 1 tracks are Moon or like MOON.
Perturber, I think, as well. I don't know. Anyway.
And yeah, they all... The thing I love about the Hotline Miami soundtrack is I feel like every single song on there sounds like it should be really annoying, but is somehow instead super great.
And it fits the aesthetic of the game perfectly as well. Everything about those games sort of coalesces really nicely. So I don't know. Those games are rad. It's a shame it got refused classification, but we all know why.
Yeah. So Fire Emblem, how's your time with the
I've been
Beagles?
Playing a whole lot of Fire Emblem Three Houses. I'm like 21 hours.
Are you past the time skip?
No.
Oh, okay. Where are you up to?
I'm like chapter 7, I think.
Okay.
Or 8.
Okay. Speaking of Fire Emblem Three Houses, if you haven't yet, you should check out the podcast just before this one.
The spoiler cast.
Yeah.
Me, Ginny and James Pennell, Ginny Wu and James Pennell went just full ham. It's great. One of the most enjoyable experiences I've had.
I haven't.
Thanks, Patrick.
I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, obviously, but I'm keen to do so. I want to hear what you guys chatted about.
It's massive spoilers for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, that's why I haven't
shared
listened
routes.
to it.
Understandable.
I might play one day.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good.
That's the idea of a spoiler cast. And I'm really liking it a lot. Don't know if I've got much else to say about it other than I mean, we've talked about it a whole bunch. I
will add that. What's up?
I was just going to say I like a lot of the battling stuff has actually been really fun to get into, but I'm
playing on normal.
Definitely only playing on normal and not no permadeath, because I would have lost like 4 characters in the first 2 battles. just baby steps and working everything out. And I'm still making sort of weird mistakes every now and again where I'll sort of leave. Well, actually, but also the game is like throwing some weird shit at me. Like I just finished one
teleportation map or something.
Sorry,
was there teleportation tiles and stuff?
No. Although I have seen some teleportation tiles, but the last mission that I just did was like just a side mission for one of the other characters who
a paralog,
paralog who'd been like proposed to, and Dorothea was having none of it. She was like, no, that guy's a fuckwit, I know him and he can get fucked. And so we ended up going out and kicking some guy's ass and helping one of the other students get out of her arranged marriage. But in that mission there was enemies just would appear out of nowhere.
Was that a fog of war mission?
No, there was no fog of war.
Just reinforcements.
They just reinforcements.
Very classic Fire Emblem.
But they come from all directions as well, and that was like something that I had no idea was going to happen. It kind of fucked me a little bit. I'm glad that the Divine Pulse exists.
Yeah. I think a lot of the complaints from the difficulty do come from people who are Fire Emblem and strategy veterans and who are just like, oh, I know how to play these games already. So.
Yeah, definitely. I can feel that. Although
have you had tea time?
I have had tea time. That is certainly.
Did you get perfect tea time?
I have had a perfect tea time.
Oh my god! Do you get the stupid little face minigame where you just like zoom in?
Yeah,
and you just like compliment, charm, joke,
stare, and like look at them from different angles and stuff.
It's creepy.
When you get perfect tea time, it's like tea time doesn't end until I say it ends.
That's right. This has been a perfect time. Perfect tea time.
So I did actually finish the game between the last time I recorded. I've been jonesing to get into a new playthrough, but there's too many games out right now.
Yeah.
I think I offer my fuller thoughts there, but in the spoiler cast. But just to say something really quickly, it's really good. I still think it's really good. I'm actually super excited to replay it with a different house, but I'm not going to get around to it for a little while.
I can see why. The character work in it is really, I think, the winning part of that formula. It's really the
a lot of it supports it, but the fact that you get to hang out and spend time with these characters is really what was driving me.
Totally, and the way that they sort of there's so many levels of interaction between all of them as well, which is really like quite fascinating. Kind of like the writing. The scope of the writing in that game must have been absolutely huge. It kind of gives me...
Oh, yeah.
Kind of reminds
and
me
the translation work.
Pyre a little bit.
Oh, man, localization.
Yeah. Into multiple languages, too, because not just English, but probably all the European stuff.
Yeah.
Chinese, maybe. I don't know. I've also been playing Persona Q2. I just finally finished it off. I've been playing it on and off for like 2 or 3 months, and I stopped to play Fire Emblem, which was its own... So I played a 70-hour RPG in the middle of the 70-hour RPG. I actually managed to come back and I thought, I literally left at the footsteps of the last boss. And so I came back, I was like, okay, I'll just finish the last boss.
Horrible mistake.
I went in, got my ass kicked.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, fuck this. I have to play like a whole bunch of side quests and get the ultimate armor and all that stuff. But it was actually pretty fun to do, so I didn't really mind it that much. And I still do like that game a fair amount. Not as much as Fire Emblem, I think, which has stolen my heart from now. But I think actually one thing to talk about Persona Q2 is how exquisitely it's balanced, because like these battles, literally I was timing it and this one went on for like about 30 minutes before I finally got my ass kicked by the final boss.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was like, it didn't feel like 30 minutes. It felt like maybe 5, but like just the tension was so high the entire time. It just flew past, and it was like I was always on the verge of getting destroyed, but I wasn't just getting like completely wiped immediately. So
that's really cool. I really love battles like that where you basically just feel like you're staying alive by a thread. And obviously when you lose them, that really sucks. But when you win them, it feels so good.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of the downside, though, because when I came back and I'd done, like, it wasn't like grinding, because I wasn't, like, just getting levels, but I was, like, optimizing my persona and getting these ultimate abilities and getting this thing that stopped status effects, status ailments, so I wasn't just spending half my time healing, and then it, like, eventually I just sort of curb stomped the last boss, and that felt really good, though, because I was so frustrated at that final boss anyway. So I was like, okay, yeah.
Like, it's kind of cool that you were able to go away and do something other than just level grind.
Yeah.
To give yourself the advantage.
Well, it was nice that, like, the way I did it eventually was I had to unlock the ultimate persona of everyone, which has a slightly better ability, but that unlocks actual new spells basically instead of just like, +3 stats or whatever. So, Persona games always have nice endings, just like, and this one particularly so because it felt to me almost like they were like, so Persona Q was always their, how can I put it, their sort of fan servicey game where they're just like, what if all the casts of all 3 games that are popular meet? So this one was like, and this one was sort of like, we're probably not doing this again. So every single one of the cast comes up to the camera and is like, we'll see you again, bye, or whatever. And it's just like, every single character is just like, farewell, we love you. Like, oh my God.
On Persona.
I love you too.
Yeah, and then it plays a really nice credit song and it's really hard not to tear up. So, yeah,
Aww.
It's fun.
How cute.
Well,
Kawaii.
I've been diving back into Overwatch a little bit because they've started their role queue.
What is that?
I don't know what that means.
Basically, at the moment with competitive, they do this thing where they've locked you to 2-2-2, so 2 tanks, 2 support, and 2 damage dealers, whereas before you could pick whatever you wanted. Now, the cool thing about role queue is you queue for your role, which means that if you queue as a support player, for instance, you can only pick support. And it means that you don't get people that are like queuing as something and then they're like, screw this, I want to play a different character, and it totally throws off your team.
Oh, okay. So it's like a way of combating kind of people who leave that don't get the character they want, that sort of thing, or?
It doesn't really combat that. It just more stops people from making dumb choices, I guess. Like you
Does it work?
I think so, to an extent. I think it's really... Because the other thing is, for you as a queuer, you know that you're going to be able to have a good shot at getting a character that you want. And so if you queue for a DPS role, then you have to queue longer and you don't get like a loot box or something. And if you queue for support or tank, the queue times are quicker and you get like a reward. Because obviously everybody wants to play shooty McShoots.
Yeah.
But it just means, say if you queue for... Like, you're in the mood to play some support or support's your main or whatever... So you queue for that, you know you're going to get it.
So it just sort of incentivizes roles. It's a job distribution network, basically.
Exactly.
It's the Centrelink of Overwatch.
So you used to be able to sort of look for group beforehand like this, but now it's just general queuing.
Okay.
And I played a couple rounds and I thought it was kind of a good system. I think
what's the wait time like?
For me it was about 5 minutes tops.
And what do you play? Support or
I played
tank?
No, I play support and I play damage.
Okay.
So I like to play damage more than support nowadays, now that I've learnt how to play with a mouse and keyboard. It took me a while to get some aim.
I'm honestly always surprised at the friends who are like, I got into Overwatch through the console versions and stuff like that. And it's like, cool.
I played it on PC first, but for ages I was using a controller.
I think you explained this before at some point.
But what I like about it is it also gives you an SR ranking for each thing. So like it's not like you've got one SR ranking that encompasses everything. You've got an SR ranking for your support play or for your tank play or for your... And they're all separate. So if you're really, really good at something, then, you'll be a higher ranking at that. And that's kind of cool too. It means that you don't, mess up your ranking by doing something you're bad at, because you can just keep them all separate and have fun.
Cool.
I like it.
That'll make people happy. People like to see the numbers go up and not go down.
Yeah.
My numbers go down all the time.
No.
How was the Final Fantasy concert?
So that was something else that I did this week. I went and saw Distant Worlds. It was a full Philharmonic orchestra and choir.
Glorious.
Playing Final Fantasy songs,
Rad.
which was really cool. Would have been a lot cooler if I'd played more Final Fantasy games.
Which soundtracks did you know?
So they played a bunch from lots of different games. I'm mostly familiar with Final Fantasy 1 and 6 and 13 Part 2.
Wow.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear which FFs, because most people only have room in their brains for 3, basically.
But they basically did this whole segment on 7, of course, because 7's the popular one. And they played One Winged Angel and they got the crowd to sing Sephiroth.
Yeah.
But no one in the crowd actually really did it. So
boo!
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
really? What the?
Why would you go to a nerd concert and not be a giant
yeah,
wanker? What's the point?
The other thing was it was nowhere near as sold as I expected it to be.
Oh, really?
And
I suppose it's been on for a while, because I think I went to the very first Distant Worlds concert here in Sydney.
It feels like they come around every 3 years.
But yeah, it's just that it comes around every now and then. This is the first time it's been to Melbourne.
Yeah, right.
And I was approached to come.
So
like I didn't pay for my ticket, it was given to me. But I didn't see any, I didn't even know it was on before that.
I didn't
and it wasn't
either,
until I went to the website that I started getting targeted advertising for it, because I got pinged by the system.
They got
It's Final Fantasy adjacent, yeah.
Yeah, so I just don't think the marketing for it was that great, because I know heaps of people who would have wanted to come and who didn't even know it existed.
It's interesting that they don't that they didn't push that in any way.
Yeah, it was odd. I mean, it was being handled by like a music company and not a video game company, so it's hard because they're not used to their niche, I guess.
Yeah, targeting's difficult, maybe, I don't know.
It was super cool to just hear the songs played by like a live full orchestra.
Yeah.
Like I said, personally, like I really enjoyed it from like a musicals perspective. Like I played in big bands like that before, so I have that kind of association, but I don't have the necessarily nostalgia.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking to myself, like, if this was like the original Pokemon soundtrack or something like that, I think I would be in tears right now.
I would see like a general Nintendo one so bad. Like I saw the Zelda one when they came around. That was really good. But
yeah. So I
just
and my
general,
friends who were like really into Final Fantasy, you could see that they were like kind of emotional at bits and things like that. Like it really felt like it legitimized some things. Like
there's just something about putting on a tuxedo to go listen to some anime music. Sorry, video game music, but
you could tell that it was like really near and dear to so many people's hearts. It was just really sweet.
Music's powerful.
It was something that I really enjoyed, just watching other people and seeing their reactions from it. I thought, yeah.
Okay.
There's also something about being in like the environment of a symphonic orchestra that is really uplifting. There's something about like being in that same room and feeling the air move with their sound. It's just there's this real like energy that comes from that. I think.
And like it was at the Melbourne Arena, which is like a sports venue, so it wasn't.
Oh, that's
really
weird.
Where was
proper place.
Where'd you have to go?
Melbourne Arena.
Okay.
So like near the Rod Laver.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it's like it's where they hold like tennis and stuff, I think.
Yeah. Well,
and it was just kitted out differently, so I could kind of tell that it wasn't really the experience it kind of should have been in some ways.
Yeah, I guess the acoustics are probably wrong for that, honestly. But
yeah, and they had like mics and speakers and stuff set up as well to help.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
And I was like, and the other thing that was slightly like, it was still cool, and I don't want anyone to think that I didn't think it was cool, because it was. But I was in the pit, and it meant that like as far as I was concerned for the orchestra, it was just violinists.
Okay.
Because I couldn't actually see anything beyond there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm definitely hearing oboes. Where are you, my obros? And like when the choir, I couldn't see the choir at all, so like disembodied voices. But I think it could have been a better performance, but it was still super cool.
That is 1x against you, Hope, for obros.
Yeah. We got to take away your pun privileges.
Gonna have to keep track of this here.
Okay.
Hey,
let's keep moving on.
Yeah.
So James, I think you're first off to bat with the ancestors.
You really want to hear about ancestors?
I want to hear about this.
I want to hear about this monkey business. I'm very curious.
Tell me everything, please.
Well, I mean,
so this is Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey.
Yes, which is.
I don't think I've ever heard so much, like indirect
confusion?
chatter about a game in my life.
So much what?
Indirect chatter.
Yeah. Geez. So where do I start? So, this is a game that was made by this was a game that's made by Panache Games, which is Patrice Desailles, who's the creator of Assassin's
Creed 2, right? Assassin's Creed, right?
Yeah, and one of the Prince of Persia games as well, I think. Anyway, it's been a while since. Yeah, it might have been Sands of Time. It's been a while since he's made a game, or at least had one come out. And
jumped around from Ubisoft to other companies and came back to Ubisoft.
That's right.
Now he's here, I guess.
Now he's doing his own thing.
Which involves monkeys or apes. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, so apes, hominids.
Well, I was gonna say, if they become humankind, they're gonna be more like ape than monkey.
Hominids, yeah. So what is this game? So I'll tell you, it has one of the most compelling like opening 15-minute sequences that I've played in some years, but then there is just a sharp fall off the cliff.
In terms of quality, in terms of direction,
figuratively and literally. So it is.
Wait, so you fall off a cliff?
You can fall off a cliff, yes.
Okay.
And die.
Excellent.
It's an open world survival game.
So give us the cliff notes.
Yeah, that's a second strike.
2.
That's 2, and we're not even 30 minutes into this fucking thing yet. You're in trouble.
Keep talking.
Now.
Keep talking, James. Keep talking.
So, yes, this weird game that I can't really pull my thoughts together about right now. It's an
this is how it feels like to read the tweets that people are making about this.
Fucking
like, I don't know anything.
This is what it's like to play the game. Like, literally.
It's a whole vague tweeting.
When you go into it, so the very opening has, like, you see this like ape with an infant. There's some stuff happens, and you see some animals attack each other thing, and it's like, oh, the circle of life. And then the camera is like following this dead fish that's been attacked several times and dropped, and is now floating down the river. And the ape, this old ape, picks it up and then starts climbing the thing, and the ape's got like an infant on its back. And then it just as it sits down high up the tree to try and, have a nom, this giant bird comes out of nowhere. It grabs it, and a giant bird of prey, picks them both up and drops it in its own nest, and then absolutely fucks up the elder ape. And the infant falls, 10 stories or whatever the fuck it is, like a really long way to the ground. And then suddenly you're on your own, and that's it. They just launch you into the game, and So you start out as playing. You're the baby ape, and you have to try and find your way back to your settlement. And you're in this mode called fear, like fear of the unknown, and it's basically everything is grey and hazy, and you're obviously really distraught, freaked out, and like you're hearing all of these noises of dangerous animals, and you're seeing like really like white, very visceral flashes of gnashing teeth and beaks coming at you, and it's just all of this stuff is popping off on the screen. It's super intense, and especially because you don't know at all anything about the game. Like, this game has no tutorializing whatsoever, and they're very open about that from the beginning. There's a huge wall of text where they're like, this is what this game is. It's going to show you through. You're basically leading your clan of apes through evolution, and we're not going to show you a thing. We're not going to really tell you much. There's like 4 different levels of HUD/tutorial that you can pick from, but it's not really tutorializing. It's just like tooltips that don't, they're contextless, so they don't really mean anything. It may, the words just sort of bounce off your head. And so eventually you work out how to get this baby home somehow. You just like, basically you're kind of just thrown into the deep end. And so I knew how to do nothing. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm an ape. I wonder if I can just walk up to this tree and climb it. So I push forward, and the ape just gracefully grabs onto the tree and starts climbing. And that stuff's really, that stuff's really great. There are, I'm
sense of discovery sort of thing.
I'm all over the place when talking about this game because it's so fucking confusing. There is a sense of discovery, and that's actually what the entire game is about. So the entire game is about learning how to become more independent and how to become more human, and eventually evolve the species into from ape into human. And that involves going through the tiniest steps of progress, from things like learning how to learning what your environment is, so like learning what water is, learning what the plants you can eat are, learning what plants are edible, learning what plants you can construct things from. But then it's also things like,
don't you just find like a magic obelisk?
No, you do not. It is not that. Space Odyssey. It is not that. There is you can find you'll find things like rocks.
Combine stuff.
Well, so that's where it starts to get weird and confusing because there's no.
So it's not a standard sort of interface where you just like three sticks and rock make sphere or whatever.
None of that whatsoever. It is all like, say you walk up to a stick, you can pull, you find a dry tree and you can pull the stick off, and then there's this, you can either switch it to your left hand, and there's separate controls for all of this stuff as well. So it's switch hands, and then you can alter it by holding the left bumper, and then there's like a bit of a skill check where you've got to hold down the left bumper and then hold down the right bumper, and then until you hear like a little ping, then you let go. And if you fuck that up, then the item breaks and you've got to go find a new one. And there's it's just a lot of
it's
minutia.
Like weirdly granular, I guess.
It's massively granular. Like there's I'm doing a terrible job of describing this, but also, admittedly,
it does a terrible job of describing itself.
The game doesn't describe itself at all. Like, you are left completely on your own to work out whatever it is that you're supposed to do. So eventually, it took me a few hours to get over that initial hump of like, okay, the controls feel kind of weird and I don't really know how I'm supposed to progress. But then I eventually figured out that like, there is a huge sort of open space that you can go and explore. And to do that, you need to use a combination of your senses, so your hearing and scent, and also your intelligence, and to identify common things. So, like sticks or certain hiding spots or rocks that you might be able to lift using a certain sharp implement that took me ages to work out. Took me about 15 hours to work out how to be able to lift a liftable rock. Apparently, it turns out you need to, I'm going to help you out here for anyone who wants to play this game.
You can like dig around it and lever it up?
Yeah, you need to, what you actually need to do is you need to have a stick that you've sharpened using a rock, which takes, a good 2 minutes in itself. And then you need to find these rocks and get the skill check right so that you can jam it in just the right way and then
lever it up.
Okay. But all of this stuff you are left to work out how to do on your own. So in some ways, it's going for that trial and error process of learning, which is
sounds weirdly Soulsian in some sort of way.
Well,
it's punishing though.
It's
like if you don't work these things out, or if you take a while to work these things out,
it is punishing. In that, so there's also survival mechanics to manage. So there's food and water and sleep that you need to manage. You need to sleep, otherwise
and predators.
There are definitely predators. It's actually one of the biggest sore points I have with the game is that the predators are relentless, and the tiny flicker of satisfaction that you get from making a discovery, which might only happen once every couple of hours, really. Like, it just depends on how quickly you can pick it up. Is they are so few far in between, but you so regularly get like hunted, or there's nowhere that you can set up really a settlement. You have to set up new settlements in order to evolve the species and move on to the next generation. You have to find another settlement. You have to have infants, and you have to have at least one adult. And if you're at your base or at your settlement, which you can move around if you manage to find a safe spot, which you won't, you can evolve your species and skip forward to the next generation, which will skip you forward like 15 years and gives you an opportunity to save any of the skills that you've learnt. So like you can retain them, and it's basically like passing that information along to the young ones. So as you're running around, you have to have an infant attached to you, so you can build up what's called like your neuronic points, which you put into these skills, which like you literally growing your neurons out to build out things like your motricity and dexterity and intelligence and like your building capabilities and all of these like just little things.
So you need to have a baby on you.
Yeah, you
so
need to have. You need to mate.
Things.
You need to mate. So you need to go and find like another ape and groom it and form
Mating rituals or whatever.
form a bond, and then you go to your bed and you call them over, and then you mate. And it's all very procedural. It's all very just buttons, just tapping a few buttons, and then stuff happens.
Well, I think I'd rather that than it be like particularly sexy.
Well, no, like I'm not. It doesn't have to be sexy in any way, but it's all very rote, and there's
you don't feel any connection.
No,
to
there's
them or
no
anything
connection
like
to what you're doing whatsoever, and it's not just with mating, but it's like that with everything. Like it's like that with the discovery. It's like that with, just moving around. Like
it kind of sounds immensely frustrating, which may or may not be the entire point.
So
I guess
it's
hard to tell.
I kind of feel like what they were going for is
an education game.
The hominids had to figure this stuff out. Why can't you? You're a human. You have intelligence. Just work it out. But there's nothing. The game doesn't really give you anything to keep pulling you along. Instead, it rather pushes back on you harder. The more that you try to get out of it, the more it pushes back and makes things more difficult for you. And it eventually just gets really frustrating.
Do you think it's something that a community of people who are just we're going to dig into this game and see what we can do?
Yeah,
there's obviously the vague tweeting that was going on, but
I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that can be discovered. There's, this feels like a game that you could easily sink 100 hours into and not see everything. But
So how far did you get?
I played 15 hours before I ended up. So I wrote a thing for player2.net.au, which you can go and read, and it's just basically the first 15 hours of Ancestors. And really all I'm detailing is just kind of there are a few flickers of delight that come from when you make a good discovery, but then it's just and there are some cool moments. Like I said, that opening was really compelling and really made me really drew me into what they were trying to do. And then everything else just feels like the rest of it just feels like such a massive disappointment. So
at 15 hours in, how much had you evolved?
So I'd managed to move. I'd done quite I felt like I'd done quite a bit, and there's two stages. So you have you can skip generations, and then you can also do an evolution, which you skip forward a few million years, depending on how much depending on the things that you've done. So depending on places that you've discovered or animals that you've discovered or encountered.
So if it was done by Sam Neill, once you ate red meat, then you'd be able to suddenly skip forward multiple hundreds of million years?
Sure, something like that. Why not? Not hundreds of millions of years. It's only 10 million years, I think, that they forge forward. And I think when the time that I did it, I think I ended up going ahead a million years or something, maybe just less, maybe slightly less than a million years. And as I came back, I had a new clan. I was in a new space, a new area, which you'd think would be fun. But then, as I went to sleep, everyone in my clan was attacked by a tiger, and the AI is really fucking dumb. So when you call them up a tree to get away from the tiger, they kind of just sit there and go and then get eaten, and it's massively frustrating. It's what the fucking fuck are you doing? Get up the goddamn
You're
tree.
the only one that's made any evolutionary progress.
There's a fucking tiger down there, you idiots. Get up the tree. I don't know. I applaud them.
Sounds weird.
I applaud them for trying to do something interesting, and there is. It could potentially
sounds like a curiosity. Is what it sounds like.
It is indeed a curious thing, and if it turns out that there's nothing, I don't know what the end game of this thing is. I don't know if there is an end game at all.
Alpha Centauri.
But if there's I know, if it turns out to be a No Man's Sky thing of go to the center of the universe and then boom, you just start again.
When you go to the center of the universe, you find this game.
Fuck off. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to play it ever again. So
okay.
It is what it is. If you like survival games, I don't know, maybe you'll dig it. Maybe if you have a million years on your hands, a lot of time, then
maybe they'll drop it on on some sort of free service or a Humble or something.
Maybe it is
like
supposed
2
to be
years.
coming to.
I think it'd be the kind of thing that could be really interesting to watch people stream, like people who know what they're doing, and then you're not actually doing it
Speed
yourself,
run
you're not
evolution.
Yeah,
That
like,
would that might be interesting. It'd be also be like it's the kind of thing where you'd be interested in getting periodic updates about, but I wouldn't want to sit there and go through it myself.
No Man's Sky scenario.
you need an abridged.
Definitely.
Okay, so James, you put down Dragon Quest Builders 2 on this long talk side of things.
I'm not going to speak about it as long as I have ancestors, but I've been playing.
Is the second act significantly different?
It is in the way that instead of being on a peaceful farming island, you're in a desert mine with where all the miners are dressed in like BDSM gear and and like
Mad Max style,
and these like leather masks that are shaped like pigs' heads with demonic horns coming out of them.
Are they nice people though?
They are.
Please tell me these are miners
They're all
of the correct variety.
like mining people.
Cool.
Not youths.
Are they cool though? Are they rad people?
They are fine, I guess.
Okay.
They're very obsessed with like the one woman at the place.
They want to. Oh, what's the puff puff? They want to puff puff, huh?
They do.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it takes a bit of a weird turn.
Does she make them wear the gear that they're wearing?
This what?
Is she the one that made them?
Is she their
dress
queen?
like
No,
that?
she is. So her name's Babs. And she hasn't done anything. She's like the daughter of the local publican, the guy who owns the pub that. You know, you end up having to build like this bar out of. First, you have to build a bar out of copper, and then you have to build an even bigger bar. You have to build an even bigger bar out of silver, and
The
then,
traditional fucking upgrade route.
yeah, and then you have to build an even bigger bar out of
Out of
gold.
gold?
Like
Gold's a bad material for building.
That's
It's a-
because
it's
then
a-
the wolf comes and he huffs and he puffs.
Dragon Quest Builders 2 is a ridiculous game, and I love it.
Okay.
It is absolutely bonkers, but it's also just really super relaxing and it's also very charming. Like I think I spoke about this the last time. Is like a lot of the dialogue is really what's sort of keeping me going. As much as it annoys the fuck out of me when they take control away from you, which they do all the fucking time. That hasn't stopped, by the way.
How far in are you at this point?
I must have sunk like at least 40 or 50 hours into it.
And it's still
At this
pulling
point.
tutorials on you.
Well, not so much tutorials anymore, but it's like, no, you need to pay attention to this, or no, something has happened and now we're going to play this musical flourish and you have to wait until it's finished before
You
you
can't
can have
button
the
through
controls
stuff.
back.
Yeah, that's really annoying.
It's like, come on, please, I've got 10 minutes before I'm going to go to work. Just let me finish this fucking thing. God damn it. But I'm really liking that game a lot. And I think it might be sitting in like my top 5 of the year so far. That's
very cool.
That
list has actually expanded significantly. Well, I haven't played a lot of the games yet, but like there's so much stuff I want to play right now.
Yeah, it's all happening. A lot of games are coming out at the moment. Pat, you've been playing Oninaki, which I've heard some really wonderful things about.
Oh, really? Because I don't think very highly of it.
Oh, wow, really?
It's
Tell us a tale.
Pray
Okay,
tell.
so Oninaki is the new Tokyo RPG Factory game. They're the I Am Setsuna devs, and what was the other one? Not Lost Sphere. I forget what it was.
Octopath?
No, they're not Octopath.
No?
They're a different studio. But they definitely are of the like same ilk. They're sort of like, oh, we want to bring back the classic RPG, and this one's more in an action RPG direction, and it's kind of got a. I reviewed this for The Guardian, and that review is yet to go up, but hopefully it should be up tomorrow or sometime. I don't know. Keith, please put it up. Come on, man. Come on, put it up.
Come on, Keith.
But the point is that it sort of starts out really nicely. It's got a good sort of... it's really beautiful for starters. Like, it's got a Final Fantasy... which one of them? One of the sort of more chibi Final Fantasy looking art styles for characters, but the actual like background art and the 2D art and that sort of stuff is beautiful. I love the UI. It's beautiful. No. I mean, like one of their spin-off ones. I forget which one. You know, like not Tactics Advanced, but like more chibi-ish.
Is it kind of like the rhythm game that they did?
Yeah, it's a little theater rhythm-ish, I guess. Something like that. But anyway, it's sort of top down, and you're the general gist of the world building is actually the most interesting element, because it's like it's a society built around reincarnation, and there's like you're part of a group that can jump between the living world and the dead world, and you help lost souls towards reincarnation. And then one of the quests that you first get is like, oh, there's this little kid and he's lost, he died, and now he can't get to the afterlife, and you gotta go. He wants to go meet his parents. You take him to meet his parents, and his parents are like, it's our regret, it's our guilt that's holding this kid to this world. What? So the only way for us to atone for this guilt and to help this kid pass to the next world is for you to ritually kill us.
What?
So cutscene, you kill these guys, and then it just drops to the title screen. I'm like, okay.
Do you kill them in front of the kid?
Well, he's dead, but yes. And I mean, like, that's cool, right? Like, that's like a cool premise for a game where you've got like sort of like you've got like death cults and assisted suicide, and sort of this question of like, what use is this life now if I know that the future life is going to be better? And like a lot of talk about like reincarnating to be with my beloved in the next life or whatever, and it's sort of like it's a really good premise, and it's sort of but the problem is that it's just not very good. It just doesn't evolve from there in a lot of ways. Like there's definitely a story and it goes on, and there's lots of like characters who come in and out, but it's like you don't really care about any of the characters until about halfway through, when a lot of them are dead, and they're sort of you're just sort of like, oh, you should care about this person's betrayal, and I'm like, I met you for the first time 2 hours ago, and you didn't strike me as memorable in any way. So, and then the other thing is that this could all be forgiven if the combat was any good, but like it's sort of like top-down Diablo-ish combat. You've got like
that's my least favorite kind of combat.
Well, I don't mind it because it's sort of like a top-down 2D Bayonetta sort of thing to me. Well, that's what I would like it to be, I guess, is like, reactive, you've got enemies attacking you and you've got your own things. But my main problem is that it feels like two different game designers worked on your character's abilities and enemies' abilities, because enemies' abilities are sort of built like it is a Bayonetta, and they're really fast-moving, and they've got like a short sort of reaction window where you want to react to something and then dodge out of the way. But the problem is that the combat designer for the characters seems to have been playing Dark Souls. So you've got like these really slow abilities that have massive startup, massive recovery. You can't cancel into things without moving up the tech tree, that sort of stuff. Right. And it's just like, it's incredibly frustrating. Like, I played this for a fair amount of time because it's nearly there. It's nearly got what it needs to be fun. Like, there's tons and tons of different weapons, and you can switch between them and stuff. And that's annoying because you switch between them and it has this delay where you're like summoning the weapon or whatever.
Oh, God.
It just doesn't feel smooth to play. Does that end up making the frustration even worse because it does come close? Yes, yeah. That's the main problem, because it's got like the music is really beautiful. It's like lots of violins and cello pieces and like flutes and stuff like that. It's really like it's got really high quality trappings, and honestly, I think it's actually got fairly good game design in some ways, because I think the enemy design is good, just not for the game that you're playing. Yeah, right. It's like all these characters are interesting and they have varied abilities and movesets and stuff like that, but because your character alone is so fucking slow and like it's just not an enjoyable game to play, and it just robs everything. And like add that to the fact that the story doesn't really go anywhere until about halfway through, and even when it starts going somewhere, you just get like locked because there's a big boss that is like you're wailing on for minutes at a time, and then he fucking just 3-hit crabs you in a combo, and you like, because this is the kind of game where you can get hit stunned into a combo and just sit there for
oh no,
nice.
And then also sometimes the particle effects just block you from being able to see your character. No, not a good game.
Whole bunch of problems.
And it's bad because it's their third outing, and like the last two were also kind of mediocre, like better mediocre because they were based off Chrono Trigger and some other games, but like, yeah,
that's interesting. I heard coming off the back of the demo, like I'd heard some really good things about it.
I think the demo was good because it didn't expose how bad the combat system was just yet, because it looks very promising at the start when you haven't upgraded anything. Like it's sort of like, oh, you get a look at the upgrade tree, and the upgrade tree is kind of cool because it has so one of the ways that you do stuff is you specifically unlock like weapon memories, and it's sort of like weapon stories in Nier Automata, but a lot more considered, I guess, and it's just got a nicer presentation, I guess, because in Nier Automata it's literally just the 4 paragraphs or whatever.
Yeah.
This it's like actual little story beats and like nice little sort of evocative 3D modeling and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But and you actually look at the upgrade tree and they're really nice and varied. There's all sorts of stuff. There's like, oh, if you do this, you cancel. If you do this, you add status buff effects to whatever. And that stuff is really interesting. And I was actually excited to play with that. But the thing is, every weapon has its own XP meter. So you have to train up every weapon on its own. And a lot of the weapons aren't any fun to use at the beginning because they don't have any skills unlocked.
No.
So you just end up... So there's like a sort of like group XP that you can use on things, but you just end up looking at it being like, what can I blow to... What do I need to actually use to make this weapon viable as something fun to use to see whether I like it? Which is too many steps. It's just too many steps. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. You kind of want things to not suck straight away.
Yeah, it's a very disappointing game because I think it's very close to being good, but it's not. So
close.
and
so far.
that's much more frustrating than something that is just bad out the gate. Like this is always just sort of like, oh, just maybe the good stuff is right around the corner. Maybe the good stuff is right after the next cutscene. And you're like,
I know
nope.
exactly what you mean. Like it's always the worst when a game is a tease about being good because you really hang in there for it. Because if you're anything like me, you're a sucker.
Yeah.
Goddamn tantalizing bastards.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time on this game. It was stealing me away from my Fire Emblem playthrough. So I was sort of like,
is there a bit of salt because it pulls you away from Fire Emblem as well?
I mean, a little bit, but honestly,
unforgivable.
Yeah, but honestly, I just think it's bad on its own merits. Unfortunately,
that's a shame.
Yeah.
Hope.
I finished Gears of War 4.
Hey, neat.
Because I remember I brought it up last time.
Yeah.
And I finished it, and it's really, really, really funny how much an extra hour of a video game can change your mind.
Oh no! Like in a good way or a bad way?
Like a bit of both. So you know
Pulls
how
in both
most video
directions?
games they sort of ramp up, and then they get like the end boss is real difficult, and stuff like that. This one is like you're at the end game. Have the biggest mech ever, and you can kick cars, and nothing basically hurts you. And there are some big enemies, and you've got helicopters, and you can call airstrikes onto them. And I'm like, okay.
Where the fuck has this been for the last 20 hours?
It's a nice overpowered, like 11th hour superpower.
Exactly, like it's kind of like Wolfenstein Youngblood, I guess.
That's like getting that rad gravity gun.
Yeah, and so it gives you this big old mech. And it was pretty fun to be in a big old mech, even if it was stupid. The other thing is the ending for Gears of War 4 leads into the lore very interesting for 5, which comes out in like a week.
What?
Wow, really?
It's soon.
Games. Video games.
I think it's...
It is soon. It is pretty soon.
It is soon. It is...
It's September soon, isn't it?
It's September.
September 10. We're going to go over...
so about 2 weeks-ish.
Soon.
Yeah.
Wow,
because I know
close.
that the event that's coming to Melbourne is in a week. And I'm going to go to that.
Okay.
It's going to be cool. But yeah, so... spoilers for Gears of War 4, which is a really old game, but, you know, just in case. At the very end, Kate, who is sort of the main character of this one, who I do not like at all because she's really whiny and just... She's got that problem where, like, her mum... During the events of 4, her mum and her family were, like, taken. And a lot of them were killed, and she's just tunnel-visioned on that, and I get it, you probably would be.
Yeah.
But, like, it's that typical character trait where, like,
full,
everyone else is like...
Full, like, Liam Neeson.
Kind of. And she's like, no, I have to go get my mum. And you're like, we're all gonna die if you do this. Can we go get help or something? She's like, it's my mum, like, kind of thing. And I'm like, that frustrates the crap out of me because I'm like, you're just an idiot who acts on, like, impulse and emotion. Like some sort of a human.
Where's our pragmatic protagonist, goddammit?
Right? And so I don't like her very much as a character, which is kind of frustrating. So at the very end, you find her mum, and she's like hooked into sort of the system. So she's got all these like veins and stuff coming out of her because she's been taken over by the Locust Horde.
The Matrix?
No, the Horde.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it's different. It's very similar probably. But then they appear to be like using her life force or getting her memories or something. And you get to her and she's like, they've made sure that I'm going to die so that, you know, you can't save me, so you're just going to cut me loose and I'm going to die kind of thing. So then she has to do this big emotional thing where she cuts her mum loose from all these gross, veiny vines coming out of her. And of course no one else can help because it's, I've got to do this myself with our ancestral knife. And then,
okay.
yeah, her mum hands her like this thing, like, you should have this. It's been passed down from how, you know, generations. It's like an amulet. And that's the first time ever that you see the amulet turned over. And on the opposite side of the amulet is the sigil of the old queen of the locusts, who was still like, looked like them, but was really human looking and had deals with humans and things like that. Kind of like a Kerrigan character.
Yeah.
And so like suddenly you've learnt that her line of people are descendants from the queen.
What the fucking fuck? That's that's there's some weird flashbacks to like Alien Resurrection that I'm getting here.
And the thing is, because it's not very original. Like, I would never say that. But it's suddenly gone from, like, in Gears 4, there was pretty much no lore to there being, like, this big lore thing at the end, like, teasing into 5. So it kind of felt like Gears 4 was this big, empty blah, and then at the end they're like, BAM! This is what's going to happen next time, kind of. So now I'm curious about 5. But my other problem with Gears 4 is I'm the kind of person who's very forgiving about a lot of lore things, especially in a fun shooty game that I don't think that hard about, even though I like the lore. And then I decided to talk to one of my friends who's very critical, and they pointed out things to me, and now I hate everything.
It's the problem with being friends with like games journos and critics is they're just like, yeah, well,
they think about things. It's gross.
You could like that, but here's a million reasons why it sucks.
So like we're talking about it, and I was like, man, so weird that you got mechs at the end. And he was like, yeah, I hated that, because like, why the fuck is humanity so desperate and losing and living in like these colonies with no technology when you've got literal robots and giant mechs that should be able to destroy everything? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's a real good point. Like, it doesn't make any sense now when I actually think about it, like how badly humanity is doing, because apparently we've got resources coming out the wazoo. But I am curious, like, after playing
Still gonna play 5, yeah.
I've got to play 5 now, and I'm excited for it, because like I said, I used to be a really big Gears fan, and there are things I like about it, and there are dumb things I enjoy, and I'm hoping 5 will be more fun to play than 4.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it was a thing, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, don't think about it anymore. Just chainsaw some enemies, it's gonna be fine. It's all good.
Yeah, that'll solve everything.
Don't even complain. The other thing I was looking at recently, and I put it in this list, and I probably shouldn't because I don't have too much to say, but Jet Set Radio Future is my probably all-time favorite game. It's really up there.
Is the concept of love in Future? I don't remember. Or is that in Grind?
They're in both.
Okay.
So a lot of the music crosses over between both.
Ah, that soundtrack.
It's so good.
Sublime.
Hideki Naganuma, just hook him into my veins, man. Anyway.
Yeah. Good.
You
got it working?
Well, yeah, I finally got it working on the emulator and in HD.
Cool.
And my plan was to spend like literally all day today playing it, and that's why I put it in the list, and I did not get to.
Oh, well.
Bummer.
So
just listen to the soundtrack over and over.
Right? Like, that's been my life for the past 10 years anyway. It does look really, really pretty, and in talking to my friend who helped me get it set up, it apparently like pretty much runs really well. Like, it holds up, so I'm hoping it holds up, because there's some shit in Jet Set which is just not good. Like, the AI is never a threat to you in any way. Like, you have these games where you gotta tag each other's back, and I don't ever remember them even trying to tag my back.
I played Jet Set Radio for the first time maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it was not great.
Jet Set Radio
doesn't play very good at all. The music, as I said, is amazing, but everything else is just sort of like style, and that's it.
I've never rated Jet Set or Jet Grind, like the first one, depending on where you're from. Jet Set Radio Future to me really feels like the game that they probably wanted to make.
I want to play it. They just have to release it on something that I have.
Well, I got news for you, because you got a computer and an emulator, and I mean, it's kind of legal because I own 2 copies of the game.
Well, can you lend me one, and that becomes legal by proxy?
I'll just send you one while you play it, and then it's totally fine.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure that will hold up in whatever Baltic court they want to put me in.
Look,
Put me in the fucking Hague for piracy. I don't know.
It's worth the risk
To the gulag with
for
you.
this game. So yeah, I wanted to bring it. I thought I'd have more to say on it and how great it is, but all I have is nostalgia and dreams.
I've never
That's good. That
never
works.
played any of those games, which
They're good
feels
for
like I'm
hearing
missing
this.
out on
I
them.
feel like I enjoyed the soundtrack more because I played it in context, I guess. Like, the music
It
would be
does
good by
make
itself, but I think especially with a lot of game music, I like to know where it's from and the original environment where you're meant to hear the music.
And I think because you're so stylish and funky
Yeah.
and you're skateboarding and doing graffiti and there's this really funky music happening, it kind of builds the world for you a little bit.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you exist in that universe
Neat.
in a cool way.
It,
I wouldn't
there's
recommend
funky
one though. Just
aesthetics.
play Future. Oh, it's so good.
I do want to play Future at some point.
It's all about
It's the
look.
best.
Okay, I think that's it for the video games that we've been playing.
It's a lot of video games, but there's
Yeah.
also a whole lot of news.
Too much news, honestly.
that we've got to go
Because
through.
Gamescom happened, and then 2 weeks of not reporting on news happened as well.
Yeah,
and then a lot of stuff has been happening.
Pretty much.
Which we say every episode because a lot of stuff happens, as it turns
Yeah,
out.
well,
That's
things
what happens
things
when we
happen.
record bi-weekly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
things happen in the world of video games.
Okay, do you want to start
Every
off
2
with
weeks.
this first lot? Because I don't know too much about these first three
Yeah,
ones.
so look, we'll just go over these
Just
things
blast
a little
them,
bit.
I
They're,
guess.
they're kind of, they are what they are. So one of the biggest things to come out of Gamescom was Sony buying Insomniac, which really we all figured was going to or should have happened.
Yeah,
I
some
mean,
time
when you
ago.
think about Sunset Overdrive, though,
that was the only wrinkle in the
Well, that was-
formula, though. Everything else was like they've been Sony
yeah,
forever.
but it was also so good, and it was Xbox exclusive, which was weird as hell.
Didn't Insomniac make that game that GameStop published?
What? No.
Song of the Deep?
Deep? I was going to say South. I always confuse that one.
Song of the Deep? Didn't they make
The
that?
racist,
The racist Disney one.
movie.
They should have had an SEO person look at their fucking game. No, I'm pretty sure they didn't make it. That was an indie game, wasn't it? That was the whole
no,
point.
that was
thought it was an indie
that
game,
was
yeah.
made by Insomniac Games.
What?
Wow.
Yes,
Wow, because they definitely sold it like it was an indie game. They were like a small independent team of...
it could have.
Because
Blah,
after
blah,
No
blah,
Man's
blah.
Sky, they're like, everything is small and don't have any expectations.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Anyway, this is good news for Insomniac to be brought under an umbrella and presumably have lots of funding and not be
Yeah,
a
they'll be pumped
shoestring.
full of money.
Yeah,
Um,
that's always the good thing that comes out of sort of these stories.
Yeah.
Is
It's kind of like the way that Double Fine getting bought by Microsoft, I think, is
Yep.
on balance a good thing because
Yep.
they always were like, we kind of exist because we shop our things out to
Every-
everyone all the time and we hustle.
the only time that you ever heard from Tim Schafer was when he's like, "Hey, we're
Can I
making
have
stuff, but we
money,
kind of need some
guys?"
money
And they-
to keep making stuff."
Money, please!
And it was kind of a problem for them because they never made breakout hits. They always made stuff that people were like, oh, this twee and fun. And then they never made anything that was like,
twee is the perfect word.
oh, I love their games, but they are so not like, bank
Million
makers.
sellers, yeah.
I really love Insomniac games in general. So
I was thinking about the swinging in Spider-Man today. I was like, that was some good swinging.
It was some good swinging.
It wasn't great combat by my take, but like that's some fucking good swinging. That is
It
hard to
wasn't
do.
great combat until I really started playing with it. And then I enjoyed the ability to do so many different things.
I honestly still think that Arkham Asylum and maybe City is better, but whatever. It was good. It was good.
Very differently paced.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I like Insomniac. They were like we were saying, they felt like a Sony first party studio
Yeah.
anyway. So
One
why
of those
not?
things,
Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of one of the stories that I've heard coming sort of beyond that was a lot of people were surprised that they weren't already a Sony
Yeah.
first-party studio.
What big third party companies are there left that are like independent? Like
really big ones?
yeah, like the middle tier.
Bethesda.
Well, Bethesda is its
smaller
own
than
publisher
Bethesda.
basically at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
Double Fine was as well, but they were always the smaller side of things. Devolver, I don't think will let themselves get eaten ever.
Yeah, no, they won't. Well, I mean, they're a publisher studio. They're not a developer.
Well, they could theoretically be consolidated. Like, I feel like maybe we're entering a consolidation phase, but maybe not. Like, especially, Microsoft was making all these big moves 2 years ago or so. Well, that would have been the time they're negotiating, and who knows what's going on behind the scenes now.
We should probably speculate less and news more.
Never.
Never. Never.
Okay.
No facts on this podcast.
No.
Wait, what? That's a cross against James. Stop talking. Anthem's lead producer, Ben Irving, has left BioWare.
Was he on Dragon Age as well? What's up?
He might have been.
Because they've still got that Dragon Age slated at some point. That'll be nice.
No. As far as I know, that he was basically the face of
Okay.
Anthem.
Anthem, yeah.
Anthem has sunk, basically, as far as I can tell.
Apparently moved along to another job, and it was an amicable split, but I don't know. Who can say? As you say, Anthem has been...
It's always great when you walk into JB Hi-Fi and a game that hasn't been out for 6 months is $15.
Wow, yeah, that's wild. That
I can't find Fire Emblem at JB. And I can't decide what reason is better.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Halo Infinite's creative director has left. 343.
Tim
Longo.
Is he the one working on the new game that they announced?
He was the creative director of Halo Infinite. Yes. And is now no longer. Although Microsoft were sort of painting this as something not really to worry about. It's like, hey, this was.
Yeah, but what is Microsoft gonna do? We've lost the director. Everybody jump ship. The game's cancelled. We're screwed.
Yeah. So here's a statement.
Points for honesty, not for investor confidence.
The statement that Microsoft sent Kotaku. I'm getting this off a Kotaku report from Jason Schreier. Roles and responsibilities.
That guy uses the hell out of news.
He does an excellent job. Roles and responsibilities of various team members regularly evolve to meet the needs of a game throughout development, and we've recently had 2 changes to the Halo Infinite development team, which is their executive producer. Mary Olsen now takes charge of the campaign team as lead producer, and then Tim also announcing that Tim Longo had left. But then it moves on to say that the overall creative vision and product of the game remains led by Chris Lee, studio head of Halo Infinite, who I thought that was is it Bonnie Ross? Is that her name? The boss of 343? I thought that was somebody else. I know who you're talking about,
and I don't know her name. I know her face.
Yeah, so Bonnie Ross is like the head of 343 Industries. So I don't know what that's all about. Microsoft maybe don't really know what's going on either. Who can say? It's all a little bit up in the air. We haven't seen any gameplay footage of Halo Infinite either.
We thought we would get some at E3, and we just got that long trailer, which was dumb.
And we were also hoping that we might get something at Gamescom. And
was there any behind closed door on that one?
No, not that I know of.
No.
Not that I know of. So that's unfortunate. I don't know. We'll see what comes of that. Maybe nothing. Maybe.
I wonder if it's going to be in next. Well, okay, whatever. Speculation we'll put away for now.
Yes. Speculate away. Whatever. Who cares?
Oh, it was just sort of like, they're probably announcing new consoles next year for Microsoft.
And it makes sense to try to push Halo into the title,
which is kind of funny. I don't know. Whatever. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows? That could be a thing that happens.
Okay.
Video games in
refused
Australia.
Classification.
What a surprise.
This was so funny to watch happen.
So this is all mostly from Alex Walker's reporting, right?
Yeah.
From Kotaku Australia. Very good work.
Alex Walker from Kotaku Australia has been doing some great work on this, as has Luke Riley from IGN.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of games were refused classification in Australia over the past week from this recording. So Hotline Miami, which we spoke about earlier, was only up for about 18 hours and had had an MA15 rating on the store.
I wonder who put that up. If that was, who's publishing it? Devolver, presumably.
Devolver.
But who's at fault? Is it eShop? Is it Nintendo? Is it Devolver? Whatever.
Because knowing Devolver, they would have just tried it.
Yeah, but technically the eShop shouldn't have let them through without it, or whatever. I don't know how that happened. And as far as I'm aware, we will probably never know how that happened. But it is kind of a surprising thing. Yeah.
Also,
a couple of other games,
a couple of other games as well. So We Happy Few had its
DLC.
Well, its DLC was banned, and I haven't been able to work out what that means. If that means anything for.
Well, my understanding was it was kind of robo-banned almost, and
most stuff is because they classify based on they ask the publisher or the developer or whatever to basically make an outtakes CD of like, oh, here's all the objectionable material according to the guidelines. Just give it to us and let us see what that objectionable material is, which is shit. But the way that, I mean, it would have worked better when stuff was film and TV and stuff like that, But
games are so difficult, right? Because
games are hard.
There's so much.
And the classification board is not built for it in any way whatsoever.
No.
Definitely.
Even with the updates, even with the RFs, even with the, what was it, R18 plus rating? Which no one seems to use.
Basically just moved the goalpost.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't actually change anything.
Exactly what I was about to say. It's like it basically games that were being classified as MA15 before are now being classified as R18, and stuff that we thought would come through as R18 is still being refused classification. So
my understanding for We Happy Few is that the devs we're really surprised that it didn't get through, because apparently it's got an even more anti-drug message than the base game.
And that anti-drug message was always weird and confused, because it was like antidepressants or anti-antidepressants or something.
Yeah.
Like anti-medication, and people were like,
I mean, it kind of feels almost more like they're tripping acid.
Yeah.
But it's obviously like a drug to control the masses and make everything seem happy when it's not. And they're saying that this one's, even more don't do the drugs, kids. So I think when they do, like, if that's the way they feel about it, it'll probably get through when it's actually assessed properly.
Yeah.
So we see here that DayZ and Kingdom Come were both banned, but then they came back as reclassified R18.
Yes,
is that right?
That is correct. So what happened with DayZ is DayZ had a bit of weed in it.
Bit of weed, and they took that out completely, right, from the worldwide release.
The way you said that was like DayZ was a brownie.
They removed that entirely, and the funny thing was that it wasn't even a mechanic that was built into the game yet. It was just
planned.
It was planned. It might have been like in its early stages, but as far as I'm aware, it wasn't even implemented yet. So that's why it was banned, and they decided to take it out. And then Kingdom Come was also had its refused classification rating disappear, and it was replaced with an R18 rating, so it is back.
Did they even say what was objectionable in that one? I mean, aside from the existence of it, but
besides the very stench of its existence.
Yeah, and then here's the big one, Bonaire. What the hell is Bonaire?
So Bonaire is apparently a Rockstar game that has been refused classification that nobody knows a goddamn thing about.
Yeah. Like, how is Rockstar doing a sneaky? Like, that doesn't make sense.
And it's kind of interesting that also the other thing is this hasn't really been picked up anywhere as far as I know.
No, it hasn't. And so
aside from Kotaku Australia. So.
Yeah, and I was talking with Alex about this before, and we both kind of had the idea that like maybe it was some kind of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, because it's
you'd think DLC. It would be like
related to the islands or something, right?
Yeah, because there is a big middle section in that game where you go to like a tropical island,
like
and
the Caribbean islands.
Bonaire itself is actually like an island state. So, and we don't know what the connection is there, but that was also refused classification, so we don't know why.
People have been waiting for like they had that Walking Dead sort of spin-off, Night of the Undead or whatever, for Red Dead 1.
People
have been
Undead Nightmare. Yeah,
Undead Nightmare. There you go. People have been wondering like when that equivalent will drop for 2, and like because they don't do anything but Red Dead and GTA, really.
Rockstar they don't need to these days.
No, they make so much money.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Ping Pong 2, come on, let's do it.
I know, right? Where's Bully 2? Bring it on.
Oh my God, where's Bully 2? Bully 2, 3 houses. Let's go.
Everything 3 houses.
Oh man, yeah.
I'm in. Let's do it. I'm in.
Game
hey,
Informer.
Look, some more fucking shithouse goddamn news from the world of video games.
So frustrating.
So, it looks like Game Informer Australia was a bit of the canary in the coal mine, because
the US has gotten fucked.
They have. So GameStop informed Game Informer US that was it seven of their editors?
I think it was something like
7 of their editorial,
because there was lots of staff lost across all of GameStop.
Yeah, so it was like I think it was 120.
I thought I read that it was 12, but the list you've got here is 8.
So it was 120 jobs across
GameStop, including like regional managers and stuff like that.
Yes, and at corporate as well. And also 8 editors at Game Informer.
I think it's 7.
Is it 8 or 7? It might be 7.
I think it's 7. I think I read wrong.
Imran Khan, Cyril Vasquez, Matt Burtz, Jeff Marchiafava, Elise Favas, Javi Gwaltney, and Kyle Hilliard were all let go without warning, prior warning.
Yeah, it sounds like
frustrates
employment
me
is at will over there, so...
Yeah,
Fuck.
that's
Like,
rough.
But this is a subscription magazine, right?
Yeah,
And there are, I think I read that there were like 6.6 million subscriptions or something.
Yeah, you did. So they've got 6.6 million paid subscribers,
Right.
which and Brendan Sinclair, who's a reporter for I think gamesindustry.biz out of the States, came up with just a really good tweet on that where he said basically like that's the surprising thing is that how can a publication that is technically thriving with a paid subscription readership of like over 6.5 million people, how can that not support an editorial of 19 staff?
It seems clear that GameStop isn't funneling those funds back into the magazine.
Well,
right?
GameStop has also got massive problems of its own right now between trying to compete with everyone and then getting sold, and then who knows, maybe it's some sort of weird... It's got massive problems right now, so that might be at least part of it, but...
It could be, yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, this is obviously speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if Game Informer is one of the only, like, rare, one of the few companies under that umbrella that might be making money.
Yeah.
And also...
magazines, man.
How are they going to, like, the question that I have from this is how are they going to continue doing the same coverage that they've been able to do this entire time? Andy McNamara was on the Game Informer show talking about how they want to try and keep pushing things forward and try and keep, try and make it so that there's as little impact on the content as possible. But you don't just remove 7 people from a team and suddenly fill that vacuum with nothing.
No,
that doesn't work.
There's going to be slack.
So it's going to be...
Or you're going to burn out the remaining staff as well.
Yeah, so I don't know what they're going to do moving forward. I feel really terrible for that team because they do some really wonderful work, and hopefully everybody there can find something solid moving forward.
Shout-outs.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, I think we're into the angry section of our news here. With
hey, what a surprise!
This one was such a flare that I put it on here when it was much bigger and then has completely disappeared from everyone's memory.
It really has.
What a surprise.
Respawn Games did some sort of Reddit thing, basically, and at some point the devs were like, listen, we know a lot of you like free content, and then basically said a lot of, we're getting death threats and stuff like that, so they sort of, a lot of news sites were like, they called users, gamers, freeloaders, dicks and asshats and that sort of stuff, and that is actually true, but from the context of, but actually reading the context of the dev replies, it was like, that was the most gentle possible way you could possibly use any of those terms. Like, yeah, I was actually it's not very confrontational in that way at all, but it still should have gone for a media pass probably. Yeah, just because, not to blame them or anything, but it's like, it's such an avoidable thing.
Totally.
Right? Like, it's not, like, as an employee of anything, you have to be careful of what you say online. Doesn't mean what they were saying wasn't true.
Yeah, especially when you're doing it in the context of, like, it's one thing to have a personal Twitter account and then maybe be like, oh, I get that threats from asshats. It's another thing to be like on an Ask Me Anything on Reddit and be like, you're all asshats. And it's just a bit weird there. I don't know. But, like, it was completely forgotten is the other thing. Everyone was so mad for like a day or two, and it's just melted into the sun again.
Goes to show that, like, how actually not mad people were because they were able to just forget about it and go back to playing Apex Legends again. And, like, frankly, I had a bit of a problem with the way that this was reported because it was reported in a way that was like, hey, let's just completely gloss over the bullshit that developers get fucking
right? Like, I am totally of the opinion that obviously no one should receive
death threats over video games
for making a game. But, like, and maybe they should be allowed to call people who send them death threats asshats at the very least. I mean, maybe be smarter about it just because the world sucks, but yeah, like, and then the reports that were coming out really kind of villainized the devs, and I found that to be really unfair.
Yeah, and I mean, look,
it's hard to hold reporting standards for, I don't know, like anyone, it feels at times that anyone just sets up a press agency and calls themselves a video game reporter.
Yeah. But I mean, this was like at, sites like Polygon and places that you kind of expect to have, not that they're bad, but this was like a rare misstep, I think, for them. Just in the sort of way that they led some of that reporting. But as you say, like, it was a total flash in the pan. Nobody Nobody's spoken about it ever since.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure it is something that they've been speaking about heavily internally.
Yeah.
Vince Zampella actually came out and released a statement on
that
Twitter, which was like
that was a
statement
shit
was so
statement.
so fucking lukewarm, and it was not great. Like the whole
either you stand behind your staff or you don't have their backs.
We're going to stand behind our staff, but
but we don't actually stand behind them at all.
Frustrating.
Speaking of developer backflips.
Yeah, so
have you seen this? So Iron Fury, which was the company that mostly got most of its talkingness about from, what was it, Iron Maiden, being you guys can't call this Iron Maiden?
Yeah, you can't call it this.
Yeah, you can't call it Iron Maiden, so they call it Iron Fury. So it's a 3D Realms and Void Point.
Yeah, Void Point. And it was from the Void Point account that this came out. But so initially there was a bunch of stuff on the Discord and some in-game Easter egg sort of assets, textures, files, that sort of thing. I think
there was some graffiti.
Yeah, that came out. That was pretty homophobic, transphobic, sexist, and the stuff on the Discord. I think it's one of those public-facing fan Discords.
Was called Ogay or something.
Oh yeah, just the fucking height of comedy. Anyway, some real bad stuff came out, and then I think they put out a statement which was just like, "Oh, we're not sexist, racist, or homophobic. We're seeing these things. We're gonna, clamp down on this, blah blah blah." And
wait a second, sorry, it just occurred to me that whoever thought it was really funny to name the shampoo Ogay just assumes that shampoo is only for gay men. Like, what do straight men do? They just stink and have gross hair all the time?
It's a shit joke. Like, I don't even... Like, is it even a joke?
I don't think... Sorry, I didn't ever give it the time of day to even think of it beyond, like...
There's no reason to, really.
Yeah, no, kind of definitely not.
Until just now, and I'm like, holy shit. Okay, sorry, Patrick.
Yeah. But they put out a fairly good quality in terms of corporate speak, but a good quality apology, which Ashley did apologize. And then this morning, the Void Point account put out a thing which was actually, we take that back. We're not going to take anything out of our games because of censorship.
Yeah, we are anti-censorship.
Which is truly amazing. Just really good stuff.
I have a couple thoughts on this.
Go for it.
Player 2, when they discovered the nastiness involved, decided they weren't going to post the review, which I totally agree with. I'm on board with that. Then when they said that they were going to remove that stuff, I was like, I don't know where I stand on this, by the way. I'm just feeling it out myself. But at that point, if people have recognized that they have done something badly, in my mind, I feel like maybe then you're like, okay, well, let's do the review then. Let's support this decision making and player 2 decided not to because they didn't trust them, basically, and maybe they were right, judging on what happened. But at the same time, I think that the community was still angry at them, and so they had the people who were against what they'd done angry, and then the people who were like, I don't want you to censor my game, I need it to say "Ogay" on the shampoo or it's not fun anymore, were mad. And so they didn't get any olive leaf from one group that maybe they potentially could have, and then they just got more angry from another, so they did the dick thing, which is still a dick thing. But I just wonder if maybe we should be more accepting of people fixing things that they feel are mistakes.
I mean, they should have the fucking backbone to stand behind the mistakes that they made.
Oh, I totally agree.
What they did was stupid. It was idiotic. It's a triple backflip, and it's a triple backflip right into a pile of shit. So, fuck them, whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of the thought that the scope for forgiveness should be there, but also let's not, let's not forget what they've done immediately, and let's not not call them out for it and not take them to task for it. There has to be a period of no, you fucked up. You just need to step back a little bit here and give things a little bit of time and actually prove that you want to move things in another direction.
What this says to me is that apology was never genuine in the first place.
Yeah, totally.
So it was a worthless apology from the start. Yeah, which is I don't know. That's my interpretation of that. And I don't know. They were right on one thing, which was I wasn't going to buy their game anyway because I'm not their target demographic. So I guess what I say doesn't really matter that much, other than I can now badmouth the devs or whatever. But fuck them.
Yeah, whatever. Go and play your Duke Nukem game. That's totally fine. It's just the whole thing is just fucking weird. Like, it's a fucking dumb joke. Like, just fucking get rid of it anyway. Like, it's actually a bad joke, and it's just.
I love that they cry censorship when it's really like.
I want to keep my bad
jokes. No
jokes.
one ever understands what censorship is.
Oh my god, yes. It's been the International Day of Censorship.
Everyone loves free speech, right up until the point where you use your free speech to be like, your free speech is shit, and they're just like, fuck you, don't censor me.
Don't censor me, yeah.
Fuck off, dumbass. Christ.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, you can say things, but it doesn't mean you're without judgment for them.
Yeah. I'm speaking,
Yeah. Okay. So do we want to touch on this stuff?
I want to touch on this. I want to touch on this to the extent to say that we've seen a lot of sexual assault allegations in the gaming community floating around out there right now. We don't want to comment on them. I want to, for myself, I obviously can't speak for you guys, but I want to say I believe victims and I believe women.
Yep.
So I believe victims and I believe women.
Yeah.
Straight up.
But I don't have the bandwidth to check it. We might be opening ourselves up to liability for repeating the claims, so we are not going to talk about them.
Yeah, so just, there are a few...
don't name names, don't name positions or anything.
I won't name names or anybody, but there are a few pretty strong stories that have come out in the past 24 hours about some pretty high-profile folks in the games industry doing some really awful shit to women. And it's... really fucking tiring, dudes. We've got to sort that shit out.
Can we just not?
Yeah, I know, right?
Let's not. That's real bad. It's
just fucking stop.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how much? And like, obviously, it should never happen. But it's so frustrating that it keeps happening because it means that, like, for myself, every single time I interact with someone, I'm like, am I next in this? Like, have I been next and I haven't even noticed it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the hell? Like, can you I just want to feel safe. Anyway.
All of this sucks. Yeah. All of this sucks. And fucking clean your house, video games. It's rough.
It's fucked.
And, we here at Video Game Small Talk, we want to touch on these sorts of things. We obviously, we will... not dance around them, but we can't.
We don't have we don't do this as a full-time gig, and we especially do not have the capacity to legally check the stuff in a way that a big news publication does. So.
Exactly, there you go.
As speaking as someone from a big news publication who is regularly in contact with lawyers, who has got lawyers on a thing, we pay a lot of money for that service, and we don't have that money here.
Sure, yeah, no, and but.
We just have Patrick, who's like, don't say anything.
I'm not qualified to practice. Leave me alone.
Patrick is our VGST lawyer, and I
cannot practice.
We live and die by that
Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's some. I wanted to end this on a slightly positive note because of all the negativity. But a Nintendo Switch Overwatch case, an officially licensed, officially branded case, went up early today and then disappeared.
Okay.
So
the most important thing about this case is, did you guys see the zippers?
Yes, they're little mini Joy-Cons. That's adorable.
That's so cute.
That's the reason why I hope this exists.
Yeah.
Because of those little zippers.
So maybe Overwatch on Switch. People put...
It's funny because every single time that the question's been asked to Blizzard and Kaplan and all those guys, is Overwatch coming to Switch? They've always been like, no plans. Like, they've been stony-faced about this. And... to
get us leaked by a fucking Amazon retailer or whatever the bullshit.
Right?
I love video game leaks. They're so dumb.
But the other thing is, Overwatch is popular enough.
Yeah, it's got that. It's got that capacity.
Just be a case.
It's got that capacity.
Like, it really could. I don't think it is, but it really could.
I don't see that happening, but I don't know. I also. I mean, with official licensing, I don't see that happening. Why would they waste it that way?
No, I agree. But I think the thing is, people would still buy it.
But you know what this means, right? This means Tracer Amiibo.
Well, you say that, but I've actually also heard the rumor that Tracer is coming to Smash.
Yeah, there's that. There's a 4chan. I didn't verify this in any way because normally there's a huge, complicated vetting process where people are like, this is the leaker who is right about this one and has the whatever. So someone's just like, female character September direct. Someone you don't expect, probably a lot of people would like it. And everyone's just like, oh my god, Tracer! Or just their own random, like, Azure Lane characters or Catcalling or some bullshit, but like...
It's gonna be like something really,
I think it would be so funny, and I don't know. I'm past caring necessarily about Smash's like Smash already has all the prestige characters. It's bursting at the seams with prestige characters.
Wait a second, I've got it. I've come up with it.
Okay.
Get Jeff Kaplan on the fucking line.
Yeah.
Put Mario in Overwatch. with one of his guns from Rabbids.
Okay. Yeah, he does have guns.
They can license it from. They can license it from.
Hope says you're ruining her precious franchise.
I'm very displeased by this development.
Okay, do they have hats in Overwatch yet?
What if
I know they have skins. Do they have dumb hats yet?
Luigi? Eh?
Better.
Gooigi?
Better?
Waluigi?
What? Wah.
Okay, you're both fine.
That's it. This podcast
man, my
is
most popular
cancelled.
tweet ever. I've had my most popular tweet ever, and it's about Wario's nipples.
It's that fucking Mario in the Olympic Games tweet, isn't it?
Yeah, and because I theorized because Wario doesn't have visible nipples in that image, but Dr. Robotnik does, and we've seen Mario's in Odyssey that there's a nipple verse that Robotnik and Mario are a part of.
No. I can't do this.
And Wario is not. And it was just a throwaway joke, and I even have a typo in it, and it like got featured on some shit. So like now it's got like 2,000 likes or whatever. I'm like, oh, does it have to be that?
Everybody
Enter the
knows
nipple versus your legacy to this one.
Right? Someone was like, enter the nipple verse. Like, if it's half as good as Spider-Verse, I'm watching it. Like,
oh god.
Fucking hell.
Okay. That's
hey,
it for this amount of news, yeah.
It is, yes. I just wanted to highlight some of the new releases that are coming out because I feel like it would be good to do this. Actually, so what I want to do first is just look at what has come out since the last episode.
Yep.
Which there has been a whole bunch. So obviously we had a while ago back around sort of the last episode we had Friday the 13th. The game come out on the Switch and Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, which I spoke about a lot in the last episode. And then about a week ago we had Erica Land, which is like a PS4.
it's a horror thing, isn't it?
It's like an FMV sort of thing.
Yeah, it was actually supposed to be a PlayLink game. Which is that
because I know that people
mobile
talk about it being scary, which is why I've not looked at it at all.
And then Hotline Miami Collection, super hot, landed on the Switch.
Yeah, shadow dropped. Very cool.
Such a cool game.
Yeah, super good game.
Apparently it has what do you call it, gyro? That's kind of funny.
Oh really?
Yeah, it has gyro. That's weird.
That could be interesting.
I guess it'd work kind of like Super Hot VR.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, it kind of makes sense that they've tried that because they do have the whole Super.
I would be
VR
interested to
thing.
play it, but
Super Hot VR
maybe
is
in some
very
time.
good.
Haven't tried that. I need to.
So Double Fine's Rad came out.
Yeah, that came out. Remnant
I've been hearing.
from the Ashes.
I've been hearing good stuff about Remnant. It's
same.
Mainly off Waypoint, to be honest, but like still good good stuff.
Same.
Josh is fucking playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, we
Seen
all
his-
know Josh from Mon Amiibo is definitely playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist, Link Evolution. Life is
I kind of
Strange.
want to play it just for nostalgia.
Life is Strange 2, Episode 4 landed on August 22nd.
We talked about Oninaki, we talked
Oninaki.
about Ancestors.
Ancestors came out on the 27th. There's a lot of games on the 27th. Actually,
Wait, the Bard's
Control is
Tale
actually
4?
Control is out today?
Control is out today.
Oh shit. I want to play that.
As of
People have
this
been saying
recording.
really good things
I
about
am
this game.
curious about that game.
Me too.
None of us have
I'm
played
probably
it,
no.
but
I didn't get code.
no, but hopefully, I don't know. We'll
Lance
see
is talking
what we
good
can
shit, so
do
Yeah,
for the
a lot of
next-
people have been. Almost every review I've seen has been like ultimately very positive.
I'm really curious about the world. Like I have no opinions on the gunplay, but it's Remedy. It's probably good. World of Warcraft Classic. A lot of people on about that.
A lot of people on about that.
Do you know what Crystar is? I don't know what that is.
I have no idea. I've never even heard
All
of
right,
it. It's
skip.
like when I hear something called Crystar, I think I don't
Crisis?
know.
Is it another CryEngine game?
I think about
right?
CryEngine. Anything you put Cry in, I'm just like that engine rules.
From the image I'm looking at, it's giving me like a Star Ocean kind of vibe.
Okay. That's not a bad vibe to have.
Yeah,
Pokemon Masters is out. I don't.
that's the mobile
That's the
game.
mobile like. What is it? You're collecting gym leaders instead, or stick
Yeah,
trainers.
it's like
That's the gacha one.
So
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
I haven't touched it because I'm worried that's a hole I do not want to fall into.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Astral Chain out this week.
Astral
Hype.
Chain.
Extremely hype. I was hoping for review code. It didn't come through, so
You are hyped for that?
I'm fairly hyped. It's been getting pretty good reviews from everyone except Waypoint, but I don't particularly trust them on action games specifically. So
Wow. Take that, Waypoint.
well, listen,
Yeah,
like
Waypoint.
they're good on narrative and they're not great on action. Like
Oof.
you get positives and negatives.
Wow. Take that.
Ooh.
Blair Witch, which was one of the surprise announcements from E3.
That was at E3, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That was so weird looking. I'm surprised it's out so soon.
Yeah, it's out August 30th. And then Man of Medan, also out August 30th. And then another game called The Ninja Saviors: Return of the Warriors, which is out on PS4 and Switch. Which, that's a re-release of a Super Nintendo game.
Sweet.
Holy fuck!
What's it re-releasing on? It's releasing on PS4
on
and Switch.
PS4 and the Switch.
You're saying a Super Nintendo game is coming out on Switch. Okay, so how far in September do you want to go up to? I suggest the 15th.
So, okay, yeah, look, let's do that because
Nothing comes out on the 15th.
That's what I'm
go
saying.
up
We go
to,
up to the 15th.
we'll go up to
Okay.
NHL 20. So, Catherine Full-Body is landing on PS4 on the 3rd of September.
Kind of curious,
Complete with
kind of
extra
not
Catherine.
curious. Like, I don't know. The Atlas is very bad about trans issues recently, and Catherine is kind of right in the middle of it.
Catherine's not the best when it comes to
LGBT
caring about
stuff. Yeah.
things.
Some game called
Phoenix Point. Which one is that? Is that the Gollop
I
one?
don't-
Is that the Julian Gollop one? I don't remember.
Never
I
heard
have
of
no
it.
idea what Phoenix Point is, but it just makes me think of Phoenix Wright
Yep,
pointing and
it's-
saying objection.
It's been delayed for starters, so I don't think it's there anymore. But
Okay.
it's this is the Julian Gollop, original creator of the original XCOM from the 90s.
Wow.
So his new thing, I think it's an Epic Store exclusive from memory,
Okay, neat.
which
That could be
people
fun.
were mad about because it renegated on a bunch of Steam promises, basically. So,
Yeah.
but who knows? That guy has quality. I don't know about his recent games though. So, Final Fantasy VIII remastered. I would be excited for that one if I hadn't played Final Fantasy VIII in the last 5 years or so.
Mate,
I know from the concert I went to that one is the romantic.
I love that one. It's so good.
yeah, I also
But it's my
like
first
it.
Final Fantasy, so
Balam Garden is actually I'd like to see Balam Garden.
They played
I
them,
love Balam Garden.
and everybody knew what it was.
Yeah.
Was like so stoked for it, and I was like, "It is a song."
oh my
That's
god,
a piece
that
of music.
that soundtrack is. So, I have the piano collection. It's so good.
That
But
soundtrack is masterful.
Whenever they release Final Fantasy games remastered, I'm always interested to pick them up. They don't always grab my attention properly because they still feel quite old and janky.
Yeah, I mean they still are, but they. I remember the meme from Final Fantasy VIII that went around was like, "You're the best looking guy at the party," but because it's from like 2001 or whatever, it just
Yeah,
zooms
he's
on his
like
face.
pixel face.
That's
So they put that on their
They
Twitter
fixed
account and
that.
they fixed it, and it's like
very good.
Yeah.
it doesn't work anymore.
Spyro
for
Yeah.
Switch and
it's hitting
PC.
Switch and PC.
Kind of vaguely
That's
curious.
cute.
Yeah,
I do want to play those games through again at some point, but it's going to drop to a price point, and I've got to have the time.
I've been playing them intermittently over the past, I don't know, 6 months or so on, is it Xbox I've got it on? I can't remember.
Would be good for Switch though.
Yeah, it would be good for Switch.
Yeah, I think they'd work well portable. I never played most of the older games remastered. I'm always a little bit interested in because it's like my chance to have a go.
Yeah.
Get amongst it. And then Monster Hunter World Iceborne, which is their
I'll play a
new
Monster Hunter one day.
DLC. Monster Hunter World was great. Actually,
No, I know.
People
I just
love Monster
didn't get
80
in on
hours
that
into it.
zeitgeist, and then by the time it was gone, I was like, "There's other games to play." So
That's right. You can always talk to.
It's such a
You
commitment.
can always talk to Nathan Cox about it. He'll tell you all about it.
he's crazy.
He's a crazy man.
Gears 5 in
Gears
September,
5.
10th, right? Yeah.
Yeah!
Excite, hope, excite.
fine.
You can be our Gears 5 correspondent, Hope.
I've activated excitement mode.
Our Gears 5 editor, Gears of War editor.
Borderlands 3.
Borderlands
The less said about that, the better.
Yeah, I wish because I liked the Borderlands games, and I was one of those people before I became a critic. Borderlands was one of those games that I was like, "Fuck yeah, I love Borderlands. I'm just gonna shoot lots of things and have lots of guns." And now I'm super bummed that Randy Pitchford's a dickhead. And
It's one of those.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Borderlands has always been one of those games. I'm just sort of like,
It
I don't
is
like it anyway, so it doesn't
frustrating.
really matter to me.
yeah,
anything
no,
about it.
that's totally
The
fair
thing
enough.
that I hate about Borderlands being made by a dick is, even though I don't think they're great games, they're just real fun to play with friends.
Yeah,
And I've got friends who aren't as,
Yeah.
I guess, caring.
Well, you don't
that
want
it's
to
made by a
have
dick.
to. Yeah.
and they're gonna play it, and I'm just gonna be like,
I'm over here having my principles, but you're having such a fun time.
right? Like, this tastes like ass. It's principles and boring.
I'm the stuffy one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the friend that ruins everything.
Not gonna lie, I'm probably still going to end up playing it because I'm fucked like that. And I'm also
whatever,
curious.
man. There's no ethical consumption on the capitalism.
That's true. And then
Daemon X Machina. I'm curious. They got a lot better after their demo came out, and then the reports from like the on-hand footage from events after that were like, oh, they improved a lot. So I'm curious about this one.
The name of this game sounds like an online handle of a man named Damon who wanted to sound real cool.
It's like a MechWarrior sort of dealy, but more anime, I think. So
yes, yeah, like anime mechs.
I'm very curious about it, but we'll see if I finished Astral Chain by then.
And then NHL 20 for all the ice hockey fans in the room.
They exist, but they're not in this room.
They do.
In this virtual room.
There are dozens of them.
They're all in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, ice hockey, like when you think about what it is, it's super cool.
Yeah, it's like a puck going around and then just destroying people.
I see what you did there. It is
gut checking each other.
Knives, and then they're like
knives on their feet.
Going around
knives on their feet.
Ice, and then they're like beating the crap out of each other with like these hooked sticks and stuff.
Good times. Great classic hits.
I can respect it.
I can respect it, beating the fuck out of your opponent.
I mean, all sports I can respect at some level. I'm just not interested in most of them.
Yeah.
Announcements.
Announcements! Oh my god, Gamescom was rich for me in announcements.
Some of the announcements, some of these are given are all of these from Gamescom?
No, they're not all from Gamescom, but they're around Gamescom.
Because these are all things that you've put together.
Yeah, so you could have entered some stuff on the list if you were excited about stuff, but these were just ones that yeah, good. So first, a bunch of shadow drops actually. So that we already mentioned Super Hot and Hotline Miami for Switch.
Mm-hmm.
This one was not foreboded in any way whatsoever, not teased, nothing. Kerbal Space Program 2. I am so excited. Holy shit!
Get hype.
They only showed cinematic footage, unfortunately, but it was such a good trailer.
So I've actually seen some pre-alpha.
Oh yeah, there's a little bit here and there, and then they did some sort of like 9-minute gameplay thing, but
it just looks like KSP without mods.
Yeah, I wish I could care about this, but I just don't.
It looks so good.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And then you've got space colonies now. You've got shit.
Well, how do you feel about it not being the original team?
So I read up on that one, and it sounds like Squad is actually in contact with the new team a lot. Like awesome. They're talking via Take-Two and THK and 2K or whatever, whoever the parent company is at this moment. I think they're the same company. I can't remember. But
it's Take-Two, right?
Yeah, Take-Two is 2K, isn't there? Aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, one owns the other.
Yeah. So like it sounds kind of iffy, but like Squad is very happy for them to do it, and they're in communication. So I'm not that fussed. And honestly, Squad kind of just built it in the garage, and KSP1 is like this fucking rambling mess, like code wise. So to have the whole thing restarted again with people that they've kind of given the torch to is a good way to go about it.
Awesome. That's cool.
Mountain Blade Bannerlords. So this is Mountain Blade was announced. I don't know if you ever played those games, but they're fun, like mercenary simulators where you literally control one guy and wander around a Europe analog, raising armies and engaging in court intrigues and and it's sort of like Crusader Kings from a much more tactics level. So instead of
Mountain Blade Three Houses.
Mountain Blade, what was that one called? I don't know. They had a lot of ones. With Fire and Sword was the one that I remember, but the one I think it was Warbands was the one I really liked. But anyway, it's like a really old game, and it's a really, honestly, at this point, shitty looking game because it's from like 2009 or something. So in 2012, they were like, we're going to make this new one, Mountain Blade Bannerlords, and they finally come out and said, oh, we've got an early access thing that's going in like April. So it's kind of exciting that they still exist, and like it hasn't been turned into vaporware. So
still working on it.
Who knows if it's any good? No one knows.
Maybe they saw how good something like Mordhau is doing and just decided, let's get this thing finished.
Yeah. Ori and the Blind Forest for Switch. That's going to come out 27th. That is super exciting because it's the second Microsoft thing that's turned up on a Switch. Which is kind of cool.
And, Microsoft were hinting ages ago, or there were rumors or something, that Game Pass of some kind would be coming to Switch. Yeah. So this feels like it gives that a bit more weight.
Yeah. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? It's definitely like the collaboration between Microsoft and Nintendo is very unprecedented, I think, I would say.
It's very cheerful, isn't it?
Yeah, they.
Well,
I think they exist
at
in
this
different.
point-
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think. Well, Nintendo hasn't really been on the same battlefield.
Yeah,
as
they're playing in
Microsoft and
different.
Sony for a very
They're playing
long
different
time.
fights now these days. So.
And I think it's really smart of Microsoft to sort of acknowledge that and be like, you know what, your market's
Well, they're definitely
probably largely different anyway.
They're definitely working to bring back their trust, I guess, ever since they blew it all in the last round or whatever. And especially since Sony is like now the king. Like this always happens, right? Sony becomes king, and then they become arrogant or whatever, and then next console cycle they get thrown down, and Microsoft
the
rises up
hubris
again.
of consoles.
Yeah,
I miss Castle VidCons,
etc.
Did you ever read Castle VidCons, Jane?
No. What?
Great little comic which was just cast all of console wars as like a palace and like court intrigue. It was really fun.
Oh, I think I remember seeing
Yeah, this was like old as hell,
bits of
like
that.
literally
Yeah.
GameCube days.
It's awesome.
But anyway, so what else was there? I mentioned Super Hot already. Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 remasters actually
Rock
coming
and
out for
roll.
PS4.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't they say...
Yeah, so they're all out. Well, they all will be out by November, but I think they're doing something like a
By
monthly
November?
release.
Really?
And if you
Oh.
buy it digitally, you get them as they come out. But if you wait for physical, they'll all be in one package in
For
like
some
November.
reason, I thought like 5 was coming in like February next year.
Oh, I think it might be. Yeah, it might be a longer timescale because like a month
Like a
for
few
those
months.
games sounds kind of crazy
Yeah.
to me. But
Yeah, there's a lot of localization to do with like the translation.
well, I'm sure they must have been doing. Well, the thing is that those games were already localized.
Were they
in
already
in a
localized?
fairly, yeah, they were already brought
Okay.
out on the original PS3, PS2, PS3, I think.
Yeah, but I didn't think we got proper
No, they weren't
until-
great, and they definitely did another pass for these versions. So this is like
Yeah,
HD update and all that stuff. It was already out in Japan for a while. I think at least 3 and 4 were. But anyway, I'm very excited just because I need to play all the Yakuza games. And then
They're so
Judgment.
fun.
Like, yeah.
I can get
Like,
on that
I hate
train.
the combat
Oh,
so
that's
much.
terrible. I
love
fucking
playing-
hate them. It's
Oh,
so
yeah,
bad.
right?
It just
but
chews
the
your way
side
through it. Yeah,
stories,
like
just give me all the side stories.
the little guitar riff when you finish one, and then
Yeah.
and then Kiryu just being
Yeah.
like, "I learned the morals today." You're like, "Did you,
No,
Kiryu?
like that-
You didn't fucking learn anything."
The best thing about Yakuza games, hands down, like over everything else, is when they learn a new fighting style.
Oh yeah, and then
and
just
it
like,
just zooms in on their face. And because Kiryu is
That's
such
rad.
a sweet soul, he's just like, that's rad. Like,
Majima goes, "Holy shit," which is my
Yeah.
favorite.
yeah, but I just love that. Like, I love. Obviously, he's cooler,
Yeah.
and he's allowed to swear. But I love that Kiryu is just too pure.
Kiryu
So
is your Yakuza dad, I guess.
he can't swear.
Yeah.
He has to be like,
So-
that's rad.
So as soon as time permits, I'm probably going to pick up Yakuza
Fuck,
3.
those games are goddamn good.
They're so great.
They're so good.
Tell me about
I
Ghost
added
Runner.
Ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I added this. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at the trailer things that I linked there.
They're not.
It looks really cool. It's like a first-person sort of Mirror's Edge-esque cyberpunk
Ooh.
thing. So it's got really cool like music to it as well. And he's running along and he can do wall runs and then he can manipulate time like a little bit. And it looks like if you get shot by the enemy, like you might instantly die and then have to start back from like that sort of section.
Oh,
to do it
okay, yeah,
again.
this does have a bit of a cool like traversal kind of mechanic.
Is it
going
a
on.
flow sort of
Oh,
based
Jesus
game where you
Christ,
like
that
want
is
to
very-
chain together a run sort of deal?
It does look like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
a
Yes.
little bit like that, yeah.
And it looks really fun and intriguing. And if you watch the trailer has a bit of wank at the start, but if you watch
Classic
there's,
trailers.
yeah, there's a trailer and then
Stylistically-
there's also a gameplay video. And the gameplay video I think is a little bit better in that it's, just shows you what you're doing.
Fantastic.
Stylistically,
So you're running through
it's
this-
got like kind of System Shock vibes. It looks like a little bit
Yes.
like that kind of evil sci-fi.
Like it kind of reminds me of Deus Ex a little
Yeah.
bit as well.
Cyberpunk.
So he's running through this thing and he's got this voice talking to him like, I'm trying to fix your software. It's all messed up. You've got to help me
Voice in your
get
ear
out of jail
syndrome.
so I can
help me,
so I
fix
can
my
fix your software. And he's
software.
teaching you how to do the moves because it's obviously a tutorial level.
Yeah.
And then you go and you get him out of jail and it's like this big floating software head that then might hack you. or
Max
something.
Headroom.
And I'm like, oh, like this game looks amazing.
Okay. That sounds cool.
Neat.
What did it have a date on it or anything, or
It
just
did.
It was
In the comments
so
on the YouTube
it was-
video, I'm pretty sure they listed some
It was
stuff.
only revealed at Gamescom.
Oh, okay, so probably
Yeah.
like half a year out at least, or something like that.
But it looks very cool. And I think I just saw someone else like tweet it randomly, and that's the only way I found out. Like, I
Oh,
haven't
weird.
seen anybody reporting
Okay.
on it or anything, so I wanted to give it a shout out because I think it looks interesting.
No, sounds good.
No dates
Oh.
or anything along those lines, though it looks like it is coming to Steam. It does have a wishlist page on Steam.
Yeah,
All right.
that's probably what I saw.
All right.
So there you go.
That's
And
video
that
games.
that is the entire story of video games.
Oh, we did it. Yes, finally.
We did it, team. Well done.
From when they fell out of a nest as a chimp to when they learnt to make a ping noise
When they landed
tried
on
to
Alpha
put sticks
Centauri.
together.
10 million years of video game evolution all wrapped up into a neat little, I don't know, hour and 50 odd minutes, however long this fucking thing is.
That's spot on, James.
Good job.
Yes.
What's your recommendations today, fellas?
Okay, I've got a good recommendation, which is the Asian Not Asian podcast.
Cool. What is that?
I've been listening to a lot of stuff about being an Asian person, I guess. And this is like being an Asian American, and specifically an Asian American guy in like New York City. And it's just these two
Do you feel it translates?
fairly
to,
well.
like Australia?
Well, it's not it's not one-to-one because Asian Australian experience is slightly different. But like, you know, the existence of a diaspora and existing in a predominantly white-based society, I think, is fun. But the main thing is that these two guys are comics, and like, you know, stand-up comedians.
Right.
So they're actually really fucking funny. And, like, they have very good guests as well. But you know, just like, I think, what was it? One of the first things I was listening to the first episode because I was like, I don't know, you know, like the problem with Asian masculinity especially has a weird tendency to fall off into the MRA alt-right bullshit crap. So I was sort of like, okay, I got to give this a test run and see where this goes. And the first thing they start talking about is like, okay, so like we live in this New York apartment and we've got to have, and one of the things my Bulgarian girlfriend doesn't understand, we've got to have a rice cooker on the like fucking countertop. If you don't have a rice cooker on the table, it's not a fucking kitchen. Just going on about that, I'm just like, I relate to this so fucking hard. Holy shit.
Yep.
And I think the last episode I listened to was called Asian People Be Fucking. It was just so good. Because, like, you know, no one ever talks about this sort of, like it's, I don't know, like a lot of dating and sexuality podcasts and stuff are talking about from the perspective of white people, and it's just fun to hear it from people who have additional hang-ups, and
Indeed.
especially my specific additional hang-ups. So,
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
cool.
That sounds really
yeah,
cool.
I don't know how good it is for non-white people, I guess, but non-Asian people, rather, but, like, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Fuck those guys, man. They've got enough shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically,
shot.
that's my opinion.
My recommendation is pretzels because they're great.
Pretzels are delicious.
Chocolate covered pretzels.
I like pretzels.
Are you getting the giant ones from the bakeries?
So I fucking love those pretzels a whole lot. But
There's one right
lately
outside
I've
Central
been-
that rules.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's
I don't ever
the
go-
Railway Square side.
I don't ever go to the city anymore, so maybe
try
I
this.
need to do that to go. And
Well, I
get
bet there's like
pretzels.
it's like a chain or something. So maybe there's one in Newey.
Maybe. But I've been eating a lot of those, like you know, the small
They're
small
doughy,
ones,
man. They're doughy boys.
the little small ones.
I like the
that are
little
just,
ones
like
with
covered
chocolate
in
on
salt.
the tops.
Oh,
Yum.
Pretzel's good.
good.
Bakeries.
baked goods. Baked goods are my recommendation. Specifically, pretzels. Get amongst them,
Fantastic.
folks. Hey,
That's fantastic.
and that's your video games for I don't know whatever whenever it is that you're listening to this. It's a podcast. You can listen to it whenever.
That's a
you
small
want.
talk.
There's a lot of small talk. That's what
Yeah.
we do around here. It's in the title of the
Maybe
podcast.
we should change it to like video game sizable talk.
Video game smack
I already-
talk.
I already took spoiler talk. We're good.
Video game sex talk. There's an offshoot.
We need to talk to some specialists for that one.
We do.
Yeah.
There's
Oh man, there was. Did you read
Preferably.
that? What was that? The Nathan Gray article on Kotaku that was like two of the top selling games on Steam are like sex games. I'm like, fuck yeah, go sex games, rad. Like
No.
shit.
Yeah,
I
but they're
didn't
kind
see
of
that.
gross sex games.
Yeah, okay, but like I don't
The
know.
problem with like I am a very big advocate for better sex in video
Yeah.
games
But
because I like sex in video games sometimes and I just want it to be better and actually sexy and nice and not make me feel awkward and gross.
I'm a big fan of the ones that do intentionally make you feel awkward and gross, though, because they're just sort
That's
of like
a very specific kink you've got there, Patrick.
It's not a
and I don't know
kink.
if you...
it's not a kink. It's more of a
sounds like a kink.
peccadillo. It's a
Email
quirk.
us.
Like, I love it when this sexy thing
your task
makes
for
me
this
feel
week, dear
awkward and
listeners,
uncomfortable.
email us your favorite sex games. VGST at videogamers.com.
It's Katawa Shoujo, by the way. Don't.
Only with screenshots.
Hope, where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me at Hope_Corrigan on Twitter, and that's mostly where I hang out.
Yeah.
Patrick?
Oh, wait,
Oh,
no.
what's up?
Oh,
You guys
Oh.
should all know
Oh.
that I made my dogs an Instagram
Oh.
account.
Oh, God.
And I think you should all follow it because what a dumb fucking thing to do.
They can fight boat meal.
if you're on Instagram,
It's Lily, Lily, and Tracer. And yeah, it's just pictures of my dogs.
Excellent.
And like that will
and hope
yeah.
every now and again projecting her
No.
own.
Oh, well, yes. I'm trying to keep my own face out of it. I put one up with Aaron, but I was like, like maybe this shouldn't be about
You're
me. And
breaking
then next minute,
kayfabe.
I'm like existential crisis about my dogs. It's fine. Yeah, look, I don't know how I feel about pet Instagrams, but if you want to see pictures of dogs, then it's a good place to try it.
You just you're wetting your toes a little bit. Patrick, where are you?
People are weird.
People are weird. You can find me being weird at Jintor_AU on Twitter.
Absolutely glorious. You can find me and my bullshit at J_Swimbanks. And that's gonna do it for another episode of Video Game Small Talk. We'll catch you for
It's under 2 hours.
another episode
Wrap
in
it up.
What if we
a couple
keep
of weeks'
talking?
time. Well,
No.
we could keep talking, but we're not. We're going to just
We're not going to record it, so.
fade off into the distance and say
Goodbye.
our goodbyes. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you all for the next episode.
Goodbye. Laters.
Goodbye.